This is how a lot of songs that are great are written. And it's so encouraging because, I'm in a room today and like I'm with top AA writers. And like you hit a stumbling block and you're like, is this how it's supposed to feel?
Yeah.
With like some of the best writers in the world, like we still don't know what we're doing. And it's like, yeah. Like this is what writing is.
Yeah.
No one like... If you already knew what you're going to write, you wouldn't write. It's already done already.
Right. You
You show up like
It's
having
new.
no idea.
Yeah.
Every time I go into a session, I'm like, I don't know how to write songs.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business. If you're hearing that scratch in my voice, that is because I just got off of a long weekend of performing once again, Grassroots District, Live in the Lot, summer of 73, fully immersive, funk soul, concert, theatrical, immersive experience. I said immersive twice in that sentence. That is because this is a crazy new event. There's literally never been an event like this in the entire world. If you know of one, please let me know. But I've been talking to people all over in the immersive community. Nothing like this has been done, and people are losing their minds at it, and it is very fun to watch. It's not just a funk soul concert, but we do have a 9-piece smoke and funk band on stage. But it is not just a play, but yes, we do have a 60-page script with actors and a director and a playwright. It is a hybrid of both. It is a play, it is a concert, and it's interactive, and you're part of it. And you show up dressed like it's 1973 because in our world, it is 1973. You're going to want to head over to grassrootsdistrict.com and check it out. If you're in LA, you better get to this show. We only have a few more performances left, so don't miss it. I would stop this, pause this right now, grab those tickets, and then come on by. Okay, we're doing something a little bit different this week. We are re-airing the first ever New Music Business podcast episode. It is with Andy Grammer, my friend, singer-songwriter extraordinaire Andy Grammer. This was the first ever episode we aired and recorded. We recorded this live at my book signing at Barnes & Noble. This was for the second edition of the book, shortly before the pandemic. So this is an in-person event. Andy and I were on stage at Barnes & Noble at the Grove in LA. There was a full house there. We took some questions at the end. This is one of my favorite episodes that I've ever recorded. We are pushing 60 or 70 episodes at this point, and I felt, you know what? Let's re-air this one because Andy just drops gem after gem after gem after gem, and you're going to need a giant knapsack to lap up all those gems and keep them and carry them on your way. So, if you don't know who Andy Grammer is, time to catch up. He is the first male pop star in a decade since John Mayer to reach the top 10 at adult pop radio on his first two singles. His discography includes, of course, the hits Keep Your Head Up, Fine By Me, Honey, I'm Good, Good to Be Alive, Hallelujah, Fresh Eyes. And his latest album, Naive, quickly reached the top 10 on iTunes and is already certified gold. Speaking of gold, this conversation is pure gold. Andy is incredible, and regardless if you know who he is, regardless if you listen to his music, everyone, I promise you are going to walk away from this episode unbelievably inspired. People still come up to me to this day, a year and a half later, and reference moments of this episode. Do not miss this. Listen to the very end. I promise you are going to love this. You can find me, of course, on Instagram and Twitter at Ari Herstand. You can find all of us at Ari's Take on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Head over to aristake.com. Sign up on that email list. That is the most important thing in our world that you can do. And of course, like, subscribe, follow this podcast. Please pause right now and just hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe. Like the show. However you're listening to this right now, leave us a comment. Whether it's on YouTube or if you're on Apple, please leave us a review. 5 stars would be appreciated. All right, let's kick into the show. I moved to LA about 10 years ago, and Andy was one of the first people that I had over at my place. He was one of the first, only people I knew in LA. Like 12 years ago, when I was living in Minneapolis, I booked him on a stage at Milwaukee's Summerfest. It was like one of those tiny little side stages. Before he had any of his hits and his platinum stuff, he played this little stage, and we kind of stayed in touch. And it's interesting that first night that you came over, I remember you were telling me about this video that you had just shot, and you're really kind of nervous about it. You're like, man, this was a big high production video.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's going to be this like interactive thing. And it was for Keep Your Head Up. And it was like before your record came out and anything. I want to start back there, that era, because I feel like a lot of people, we only see all the successes that have come. And we think that, a lot of times you just start off by playing, writing a few songs, playing a couple gigs, and boom, you're on the radio. I want to hear about the journey from before that first song came out, before your first record came out. Is that how it went for you? Did you just kind of play a couple songs, get discovered, and boom, you're on the radio? Or were you grinding it out? What was that life like back then?
Well, what's awesome is the first gig that we played, to even call it a stage is like,
yeah,
cool.
It's generous, right?
So if you don't know, Summerfest is like this awesome, huge music festival it's in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I got a call that I could go play. I got a call from my other friend Josh that you knew, and he sent me out there. And it was very much like street performing. So I did like a lot of just grinding without any good reason. I think that's the first thing that I would say is if you're a musician, you just have to believe and go without necessarily having anybody looking at you saying like, oh, that's a good idea. What's funny is that kicked off another tour. So it was more of a mobile marketing thing than anything else. It was a Chevy stage that was set up way in the corner of Summerfest. And I got there and they would let me play. And then the guy liked me enough that he's like, I'll let you come. We're setting up this mobile marketing thing in a bunch of other music festivals. He's like, you can come do it if you're willing to hand out like Chevy t-shirts during the day and help us pack up.
Yeah.
And I was like, totally in on that. So we went to like 4 other festivals. And I was just like down to grind.
Did you have any music at this time out?
No.
No, you didn't have a CD or anything like that?
No, I didn't have a CD. I was just kind of down to try and make waves in some possible way.
And because you were living here at the time, right?
I think so.
And then because, the story, the tagline that everyone kind of says is like, you started on 3rd Street Promenade, which not too far from here, street performing.
Yeah.
And how long were you on the street performing?
I did that for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years of that, which is so long.
How
That's
often
a really long
would
time.
you do it? Like once
I would do that
week,
probably I paid my rent by street performing.
Wow.
And I like to tell the story because I like to share the way that you get to, at least for me, the way to get to a song that everybody loves. There's like a lot of different ways. But the misconception, I think, is like, I like to try to dispel the misconception of like, that guy just has it.
Yes.
That's bullshit. Are we allowed to curse?
Yes.
Cool. The idea that someone just has it is a myth that we put on those that we think are great, and it's almost an excuse to ourselves to not try hard because they have it and I don't have it. So
right.
why even go? So the way that I got to my first single was I went and street performed, and it's like a long period of time to get to the single. But the way that it was like very calculated. So I go out and I'm playing songs and I'm playing covers and none of them are working and people are just like ignoring me all day long. So then I keep trying different things. At the time it was like, Hey There Delilah. People were like, please stop playing that. And then I remember playing like Michael Jackson. I actually had a guy come up to me, and anytime anybody came up to you, you're like, awesome, right. Some interaction.
Someone cared.
He comes up and he literally like whispers in me, he's like, this one's not for you. I'm like, okay, cool. So you stop that. And you just keep trying things. You're like, who am I? Like, what's my thing to offer?
Yeah.
And I would play Sunday Morning by Maroon 5, still one of my favorite songs of all time. And I'd play it and people would stop. And I'd have their attention for like that song only. And then they would leave. You'd be like, okay, so this is working. Me copying someone else blatantly is like actually giving you something.
Yeah.
So then I would go home and try to write my version of Sunday Morning over and over and over and over again. And the first song I had that made people stop that was my own was this song called The Pocket, which I love. Yeah. Mostly because it's like the first time that something of my own made someone stop. And I remember being out there and playing it and people would stop and be like, yeah.
right.
And what I say is that it's really hard to get the switch to happen
Yeah.
where you are actually being of service to somebody else. This is like what the deepest level is, that we've all been to our friends' shows where we are giving them attention. We are doing you the service by being here. This sucks, right? We've all been there. And there's just a ton of work that goes into shifting that to where now whatever it is that I'm doing is being of service to you. At its most fundamental level, that is how you create momentum in any business, and especially the music business. It's like, how is when you come to my show, am I giving to you? How when you listen to my song, am I giving to you? How on social media, am I giving to you?
Yeah.
How in any interaction that we have we left it so that you feel like I've done more for you than you've done for me? This is how you go in every single way.
Yes.
And so going from the street where I finally got 15 minutes together where I was just giving.
Yes.
It's like, here's Keep Your Head Up. You can sing it right away. Awesome. It's giving to you for some reason. Of all the 100 songs that I wrote, that one's giving to you. Here's this song, The Pocket, that's giving to you. Here's a story that I put together in between those two that seems to give to the average person that's walking by. I had 15 minutes where the whole thing was just giving, right? And then Keep Your Head Up started to take off, but it didn't just like go.
Yeah.
It didn't just like, this is a hit, go.
Right.
It's like, we don't know who that guy is. We'd rather play actually Maroon 5.
Yeah, right.
Why are we going to play you?
But I want to touch on the giving part, because I think it takes a lot of performers and artists a long time to realize when you're on stage, it's not really about you on stage. It's about you. It's about the audience. It's the giving. Yeah. And I think, we all get caught up in ourselves like, oh my gosh, like, how am I playing? How do I look? How do I sound? It's about me. It's about me. It's about me. But you realize from being on the street that it's not about me.
I mean, right now, no one's here for us.
They're here
sincerely.
Right.
Everyone's here because they want to do their thing. And they're hoping that hopefully something I say or you say will help them along their journey. And I'm going to try my hardest to give you something.
Yeah.
I want this thing to end where like I've given you way more than hopefully you've given me. In every interaction, that's how you create momentum.
So when you were on the street and you're getting this feedback in real time, and it's like, but also you did it for 4 years. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people here who have done those grind money gigs. You paid your rent doing this.
Yeah.
We've all played the bar gigs. We've done the street thing. I did the street thing. It's just, it can be soul crushing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say to these artists that are doing these gigs where nobody's paying attention? Because I'm sure there were times on the street where you realized real quick, like, yep, no one's caring about me. No one's listening. No one, until you play Sunday morning. But like, what kept you going? And what made you just kind of stay the course and be like, no, I believe in this enough that I need to keep going? And for artists that are still like grinding it out and they're just, it can be discouraging. What do you kind of say to them and say that you said to you?
I think that this is like a Tony Robbins quote. He says, you overestimate what you can do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in a decade, which is really true. And I think that if you're in one of those soul-crushing gigs and you're listening to this podcast, what you really need to be focused on is, are you pushing yourself every day? And it's like one of those annoying things to hear people say, but the outcome shouldn't be as important as like, do you show up every day? Me and my wife had a thing we say, like, did you slay the dragon today? Did you try?
Yeah.
Did you go after it? Because that's the undeniable thing that will, now that I've been in LA for 15 years, holy shit, I have a lot of friends in my circle, you included, who just wouldn't stop every day, wake up, go as hard as they can in a direction. And that is more important to me than talent, honestly. Because you wake up and you go, and now you can't steer something that's not moving. So you show up, you go as hard as you can that day, you end the night, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do it again. And you love the thing that you're doing. So if these gigs are soul-crushing, it wasn't soul-crushing for me.
Okay.
It was like, I knew that I was chasing my purpose. So even if I showed up and no one gave me any money that day, I check marked that like I showed up for my purpose today. And that was my goal. And I did it.
So you knew very early on that your purpose, music, right? That's the purpose? No. What is the purpose?
I knew that like that was like one of the ways, the way that was available in front of me to go after my thing. It was like, no one would book me for shows. Literally.
Right, okay.
I'm like going around all these different places in Los Angeles like, can I play for you? And they're like, we don't know who you are, get away.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay. Well, it's a freedom of speech on the Promenade. You can't tell me to stop.
Yeah.
So I'm allowed to do this.
Yeah.
So you just start there.
Nice. And so, I mean, you're grinding it out. You're learning what's working in feedback real time.
Yeah.
You see that Sunday morning works, and then the pocket works, and then it's kind of, was there a shift from in kind of your perception, or was there a shift when you were on the street that after you kind of saw that you got your tight 15 minutes that you said and you got it, that enabled you to kind of make that leap from the street to the next, kind of the next stage of the career?
So there was, it definitely, you will feel, for anybody in here, if you have something that is being of service to someone else, you'll feel that. You'll like see a difference at a show. Someone come up to you and they'll like look you in the eye and be like, yo, how do I get that? With that song the one you just played about like the girl that broke it, like I want that song. That's a very different thing than when you don't have that thing. We all know when you don't have that thing, it shifts to where like, whoa, you are now being of service to me. How do I get that? So that you can feel that a little bit. I could actually see money-wise. It was a different time. I don't even know if people buy CDs on the Promenade anymore. So I could sell CDs for $10, and you could see each year that it was going up. So in the beginning, you sell like 3 a day. And then you get to a place you sign a little bit more. I think my best day was like 110 CDs. Right? Yeah. Well, but amazing. I usually sell, by the last year, it would be at least 200 CDs over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Now, what were these CDs? Because this was before your debut album. What were you selling?
I was selling... Oh, it was like an EP.
Maroon 5 bootlegs.
It was an EP. It was an EP that had some songs on it that, like, when I listen back to them now, drive me insane.
Oh gosh.
And
was the Pocket on there?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was way before that. And I would sing a cover of "Chasing Cars," and I'm pretty sure everybody thought that was on the CD. And I would say, I'm pretty sure everybody thought Sunday Morning was on there too. I never said it was or wasn't. I would just like, here's my CD, take it.
Right.
What I was saying is to go from that to having a radio hit for me. It's probably even different now, but basically I had 15 minutes that were of service to people, and so then they put me in a car and sent me to every radio station. And what's unique is that playing for someone who doesn't care about you at a radio station is remarkably similar to a stranger who's walking by to get jeans.
Wow.
They're just like, I don't want to, no.
Yeah.
Like someone's walking by like, if I could just right? It's like the same situation with a radio programmer who's like, I'm doing someone a favor by even seeing you. Right. So if you could just like do your thing and get out of my face, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's the same thing you're pushing up against. And I went to pretty much every single radio station like twice. It was like a tour where I remember I was like opening for people, and I remember I went on a tour with Natasha Bedingfield. I opened for Natasha Bedingfield, and the majority of that tour was just like 4 radio stations a day. And I would arrive to the gig just like completely spent. The gig almost didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was just about like, how do I leave I would call them King Koopas, because like you play a Mario game and like none of it matters unless you beat the king at the end.
Right.
And so it was like, how do I get to this person who's in charge of making this decision and show them that I have something that's worth their time. So you're in Iowa at 6 a.m.
Yes.
with a lady who really doesn't want to talk to you or hear from you.
Right.
And what I have is a tight 15 minutes that I know probably by like 7 or 8 minutes. This has worked on everyone. It's gonna work on you.
What was your?
This is like a tested 4-year thing.
Right.
I'm gonna do at you right now, and it's gonna work. And you could see them kind of like go like, wow, okay. And then I would leave and they'd be kind of like stun gunned a little bit. And then we'd get the call later. They're like, you know what? We're going to add that song.
Amazing.
But it wasn't just like the song performed.
Yeah.
Keep Your Head Up was like a hit and it worked. But even that wasn't enough.
Right.
I had to go in and like win people over and give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to step it back just a little bit because I'm sure people are listening here and they're like, so he went from performing on the Promenade to doing radio tours.
No,
There's definitely got to be something in between that.
An amazing manager who's still with me today.
Okay.
His name's Ben Singer. And he came out to the Promenade and saw me playing out there. And we just started like really working together as like partners.
Yeah.
And the first thing that he did was he got me a better rug. And he got me a better like tip jar.
Because you would have a rug on the street.
No one's gonna do this for you.
Yeah.
There's no button that someone pushes and it's like, you win.
Yeah.
You win the game. You know? Like even some of these TV shows that'll be like the confetti goes off.
Yeah.
And it's like, you won this show.
Yeah, right.
And I'm at home like, you have so much to do still. There's just so much to figuring out and it never ends. Just like it always goes.
So he saw you, and it wasn't like, I see you, I'm going to make you a star tomorrow. It was like, so your rug that you're standing on while these people are walking by is really shabby. I'm going to get you a new rug.
I'm going to get you a new rug.
We're going to start there. And the tip jar, it's falling to pieces.
Well, he's like, I'm going to get you a new rug, and I'm going to tell you why your songs kind of suck.
Okay.
And he's like, he was really great at just like being, he has an incredible ear and he's really good at a lot of different things. But he was a partner who was down to, I would write all these songs and I would send them to him and he'd be like, no.
Yeah. I love that you call him
no again. Yeah.
I love that you call him a partner because a lot of people, they think of managers as someone to just kind of come in and do everything for them.
Yeah.
And that they're like, okay, sweet, I have a manager. Now I don't have to do anything anymore.
This philosophy that I've been speaking about the whole time
still
applies to every single person in your circle. So there's you want your manager to be getting more than you're getting. Not necessarily monetarily, but just like you want to leave a meeting with your manager with him psyched to do something for you. You want to leave a meeting with your agent. You want to have something going by the time you meet them to talk about it with them.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to jump on a moving ship.
Yes.
You want to just be like the one that when people come in contact with you, they're like, man, that was great. We should do that again.
Yeah.
And in every situation, even in the people that are helping you, you want to be like getting them excited, pumping them up.
So
no one's going to do this for you.
Right.
You are the one that's going to do this.
Yes.
As soon as you like really understand that, then you can get to work on doing it.
That is fantastic. And I love hearing you say that because I think, what I hear a lot from artists who are just kind of grinding it out early on, it's just like, man, I can't wait to the time when I have a full team and I have a manager and a label and a booking agent and I don't have to do any of this stuff anymore. So
if I just had.
Right. If I just
up.
had. Right.
Yeah.
No, you're still doing it.
I believe you.
Yeah.
And it's real.
Yes.
And what does that do for us?
Yeah.
Stop talking about it. Go and do some things that will make them come.
Yeah.
Like go build the fire that gets people to go like, what's going on over there? You know what I mean?
So building that fire, would you say that the fire that you built early on, even just the little flame that you had in front of your rug on the street that Ben was attracted to, that warmed him up, that came through, that was that tight 15. And then it just kind of builds as you kind of throw kindling on the fire with, as you bring more team members, and then you're kind of, it's the video, or it's the song that you just wrote yesterday, or it's just like, that's the fire.
It's a lot about like creating things, and I mean, hit songs are like really hard to find and write. But you like for me, we've talked about it a little back there that I just write like for every album I write 100 songs.
100 songs for every album.
That either the two things you can be like, you're not that good then, or you have like a crazy like. For me, I just know that I need that many takes to get something amazing. The bar for what will make you, when was the last song you heard on the radio that made you go like, oh my God, I need that? Can anybody say? Someone tell me. What was the last song you heard on the radio that made you go like, oh my God, I need that song? Someone call it out. What do you say? Louis Capaldi. Oh my God, that's so good. Yeah, exactly. But even in your head right now, you're thinking, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the bar.
Yeah.
It has to be that fucking good to make someone go like, oh my God, who is this? I need to know this person. I want this.
And how do you know though when you've reached that bar? Because it can be hard because we don't necessarily, we're not great judges necessarily of our own art.
No.
And so when we're writing something, we may think like, this is really meaningful to me,
Totally.
But how do you know that it's going to make other people stop them in their tracks?
Totally. And I think you play it for a lot of people. I was very lucky to have a guy like Ben, who's my manager, who we would, usually if two of us are really, really excited about something, there's usually a chance that there's something there.
Yeah.
But I think most writers stop too early. And then they have this debate about like, what's the single?
Yeah.
And it's a really terrible situation because nobody knows because it's probably not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like my story is that I wrote 100 songs for my second album.
Mm-hmm.
We went in, we had like this party about how great it was because the album was done. And then we left and Ben was like, I don't think we have a single.
Oh gosh.
Which was so gnarly because we just had this like celebration.
Yeah, right. Oh god.
And you know, I was like pretty depressed because 100 is a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And then we went the next day and I wrote Honey, I'm Good.
Wow.
This is,
Which
there
became
is a way
Yeah.
to up your chances. Of the people sitting in this room, who's going to write 100? It gets real small fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the amount of people that will actually write 100 songs gets you into a pocket where you're like really competing with other psychos. And then your chances of catching some, like anyone in this room who's a songwriter, if you write 100, you will have a much better shot. But what that is that's just like work. That's like a lot of work.
People aren't really willing to do that amount of work. I mean, and that's why you get into that smaller community.
But also,
of people who are
it's not
grinding.
even just like work. So this is what I like to tell artists is that you are more a fear fighter than you are a songwriter. Like I like to say the analogy that like I'm about to go to a show, leave to go play a show I play a show on Saturday, but I travel tomorrow all day, and I'll play the show for an hour and a half on Saturday, and then I fly back on Sunday. So I'm a traveler.
Right. Yes.
And then I play some music for a little bit there.
Sure.
And the analogy is that as an artist, you're a fear fighter, and like sometimes you write music. So you have to like just really go after this thing in yourself that you're not good enough, that you can't do it, that you're not worth it, you don't have anything to say, that it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you have to wake up and just like fight that all day long while you're drinking coffee.
Yeah.
While you get breakfast, while you're doing the thing, you have this on you. And then if you can fight it enough to where you like actually go write the song, you win. And then you let yourself off the hook for the day because you did the thing.
Do you have a practice or do you have a routine or a way that you have learned that enables you to crush that fear, to fight that fear regularly and then show up for what you need to do? Has that fear ever become too much?
I think it's different. Like right now, it's not. I do a lot of co-writes.
Yes.
I do it half because I think that the people that I'm writing with are unbelievable, and literally half because it will make me write. I do think that I could sit down and write some pretty great songs by myself, and I do sometimes.
You have.
But the majority of times, it's because I know that if I get with this person, I will be pressured into writing something that day with them.
Yeah.
And so I just like
get there.
set it up.
Yeah.
You know, my manager helps me set it up. It's really hard to do that first. So I say the hardest thing is to create distance between you and the ground when no one else believes in you. That's where you really need this surge, right? Like you really need to push hard and do it for yourself without help. That takes an extra crazy, exorbitant amount of energy. That if you're here, you might have. Good luck, please.
Right.
God.
Hey.
And then the other thing is like we need it so bad. Whatever your thing is that you're gonna push and fight to get to, please God, don't stop.
Yeah.
Like we really need it. I have a song called "Don't Give Up on Me" right now. That's like people come up to me and tell them to save their life. What if I didn't do my thing?
Yeah.
How many lives are people in here gonna save?
Yeah.
Like you're fear fighters. You have to show up and fight like hell. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's like kind of hard to talk about. You know, I had a bunch of, for my birthday this year, I had like 20 songwriters over to my house. And I just tried to encourage them and big them up and say stuff like this. And one of the things I was saying is that in many other careers, you don't have to deal with as much fear, I don't think. Maybe I'm not them, so maybe they do.
Right.
But if you told me you were a banker, I'd be like, cool.
Right. Yeah. No.
If you tell me like, oh, you're a musician, I go like, oh, what have you done?
Yeah.
And then like everybody's like, oh, I guess I'm a loser.
Right.
Because you haven't, because I'm not world famous yet with like
Yeah.
a couple huge singles that everybody's heard.
Right.
So like you're just dealing, that's like a lot to handle on a daily basis all the time in every situation that you're in is like dealing with your worth.
Why is that? The music is one of the only industries where like the sole definition of making it in success is like superstardom, that like playing the halftime at the Super Bowl. And if you're like Uncle Joe hasn't heard of you, then
I
you're
don't
not.
think, honestly, I don't think it's like anybody trying to be malicious.
Yeah.
I think that they just genuinely don't understand what you do.
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
first of all, writing a song sounds like a weird mystical idea to a
Right.
lot of people. That's like, okay, so if it's not valuable and you haven't made money from it,
Yeah.
then like, what the hell are you doing all day?
And that's
right? Which is a little
right.
bit of a fair question.
Right.
But
What are you doing?
the truth is that you're working towards. I think we're like excavators. Like we're like hunting. We go on like long journeys to find something that is worth it that we bring back to everyone and go like, does this do something for you? You know?
Yeah. 100 songs, and you don't even know if they are going to make money to pay your bills or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we'll go away and we'll hibernate for months on end writing songs, hoping that this is going to work out to enable us to actually have some form of a career where this kind of supports us. And I mean, it's a huge risk. And I think, at least early on, when you're like, oh, okay, I play this connects, it's like instant where they come and pop $1 in there or something like that. It's like, oh, that connected. But when you're in the writing stage and you're in the writing process, is that going through your mind? And are you like, man, I got to write a hit. If this doesn't connect with people, then I'm not going to be able to have this career that I've had up until this point. Like, is that fear now that you've had so many hits? Does that infiltrate some of your writing sessions?
Yeah, I'd lie if I'd say it didn't. I think also that action is one of the ways that you kill fear. So if what we are is fear fighters, then like one of the things that fights fear is just action. Just do it. Like just write a shitty song, and then you'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah, writing a shitty song is better than just writing no song.
My goal is like
Then not
write a shitty song today.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Good.
Write a hit song, like chill out. Do you know how hard it is to write a hit? That's like I'm gonna be bummed for the rest of my life.
Right.
I get to be happy. Like for me,
Yeah.
I'm like pretty successful, and I will only have been happy for like 7 days.
Yeah.
Of my whole life.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna do my thing.
So if you finish a song, you're like, accomplishment for the
Yeah,
day.
I wrote a song today that was a 1 or a 10. I have no idea.
Amazing.
I went so hard. Everybody in the room is like amazing.
Yeah.
And they're badasses.
Yeah.
And the secret is we still don't know what we're doing.
So you don't realize when you finish the song if it's great or not?
No. I feel like I'm supposed to say yes. I don't know. That is actually liberating. I was talking to Asia, my wife, on the way here. I was like, man, I have left writing sessions really not thinking that I wrote something good, and then it becomes awesome.
Wow.
Like a big freaking hit.
Yeah.
So
well, that was
then-
like Fresh Eyes, I feel like, was the story
Fresh
of that.
Eyes. I just like left, and I was like, that's just like not that good.
Yeah.
If there's no like the hook doesn't like take off or anything that like gets me, but it's like kind of more like a trance thing that I couldn't get necessarily. I mean, I wrote it, so I liked it, but now it's like it's done incredibly. It's like this crazy streaming thing, and so now I leave and I just like let myself off the hook for hating myself for the rest of the night.
And so
how's
when
that
do-
sound? Are we cool with that?
Wait, so
like,
right, yeah.
like I did my thing today.
Yes,
I did my
amazing.
thing. I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. So when do you make that indication or figure out what songs are going to make the record when you have to actually look at them and say, oh, this one is actually not shitty. This one could be decent enough.
I
for
don't
the
think
record.
that's as hard as it seems because when you write there's like a Nashville thing that's like if you write 10 songs, you think you've written 5 good songs. And if you write 50, you think you've written 2. And if you write 100, you're like, I got one that's like real good. And that's kind of what happens is you start to, there's ones that, so when you put out a record, this is awesome. It has to be like, oh man, I think the amateur way to put out a record is like, I can't wait for people to hear these. And the super pro way is like, I would be devastated if people didn't hear these. Because I've written so many, and like these 10 are a part of my soul, and they're the ones that fought their way to the top and beat all the other 90.
Yes.
So like, if people don't hear these, I'm devastated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As opposed to like, I wrote 20.
Yeah.
Here's 10. Like, hey, what do you think?
Yes.
You can strike gold.
Right.
But the goal here is that someone hears it and goes like, stops. We've all had that moment, just not very often, where you hear a song and you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like that is giving to me on a level that I'm not used to. And I need to go find out who that is.
Yeah.
That's so hard. That takes like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to keep doing.
Sure.
I think it's as hard to go from obscurity to being known to then having everybody go like, you're probably done and doing it again.
Yes.
That's as hard.
Sure.
So the good news is it doesn't really get better. Like
Or
the
easier,
level of
right.
stress you have
Yeah.
right now to like get somewhere will just be there's like a whole team of people that are counting on me right now today when I go into my session to write another thing that will keep the machine going. And I would say that is probably as intense as trying to get started, So you're just like, you get used to it. You just keep going.
I'm curious about the co-writing process because you do so many co-writes.
Yes.
But all of your songs feel so personal and patently you.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the coolest things, at least for me, just like experiencing your work through from the very, very beginning up until now, is like we can kind of follow your personal journey through your music and through your songs. Like there's a song on your new record about your late mother and what she would be saying to your daughter. And, this is something that obviously would not be on your first album, but that was a co-write. You had 2 other co-writers on that song. How do you get into a room with co-writers and still stay true to you and make it authentically you and tell your own personal story with other people in there?
Yeah. Well, I think that co-writing, I've told this story before, but for me, co-writing was like the coolest thing in the world. After one specific co-write that I did with a lady named Cara Diaguardi, who's unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And I had kind of been against co-writing up to that point, very like purist, like this is my thing, and I'm only doing my thing.
Yeah.
And then I got in a room with her, and I forget. Oh, I had this idea of writing a song about how I like had recently lost my mother, and I was like, I'm a rookie at this, at like losing somebody. And so she pulled it out of me things that I was like kind of even worried to get out. And I realized like, whoa, this is totally my story, and it's so much better because she was here.
Wow.
So if I'm clear on who I am and what my point of view is, I can actually write songs that are way better with other people who are really, really good at this. And it can still be only my story. That was awesome. And so then I was like, wow, co-writing's great. If I know who I am, co-writing's great. You never want, like in the early stages, you're probably co-writing and you have a couple songs that come out and you're like, that's super not who I am. And that guy made me say that thing.
Right.
And
right.
I don't like this. That's very different than like I show up to sessions like, oh man, I want to make a kind of like a house like this. And I know that you're a really good architect at this type of stuff, but I know that I want the door there and and then you like start putting it together.
So what is the preparation that you go through before a co-write? Do you know the other co-writers that you're teaming up with for that session? Do you look at their work? Do you come with song starts? Do you come with lyrical ideas or topical ideas? Or what's that process
I
like?
usually come with a couple starts. The other thing that I would say as I've gotten into rooms with people that are like higher level writers, one thing that I see that's different than the rooms of people that are starting is, and I don't know if this is right now or what, but we jump way more than like in the beginning in a room of people who haven't written that many songs, or me at least. I would come up with an idea and I would be like really precious about it, and I wouldn't want to budge from it, and I'd want to make sure that we got something. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever been in a session. And like you can kind of tell that like no one's jumping up and down about it.
Yeah.
But you're like, we got to get something.
Yeah, you're right.
And as you get higher up, you go like something does nothing for anyone. Like finishing a B song doesn't do anything for me.
Okay.
So let's jump. And what allows you to jump is belief that something will be there. Like your belief in yourself that like I will find, not only will I find something, but I probably find something better.
What do you mean jump? Like what
that means like
jumping?
This idea that we've just spent 2 hours on, that's like a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Scrap it.
Jump.
Just jump.
Move. Let's go to the next thing.
Okay.
What do you think about doing another thing? And a lot of times like great writers will be like, cool, let's go.
So you'll be in a session with a great writer, top level writer, and 2 hours into it, you're like, you know what, not feeling it, scrap it, let's move on to something new.
Yeah. Wow. And usually the good ones are like, great.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
They like look you back in the eyes like, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Am I afraid?
Right.
The thing is like, are we all so psyched about this idea that we think that it's going to make someone hear it on the radio and like stop what they're doing? If we don't, then like, let's jump. And that's been cool to see. Like, so my song "Don't Give Up on Me," we wrote a pretty good song, and we were like verse pre-chorus, and we're getting ready to write the second verse, and someone in the room is like, "Is this great? This is like great?"
Yeah.
And there's a lot of high-level people who are like,
Yeah.
"No, it's like really good.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, holy shit, great.
Yeah.
Let's write another one." So we like jump. Let's write another one. We started writing another one. We get like verse pre in, and we're like, "Is this concept like amazing?" It's like, no. Let's jump again.
Yeah.
Jump again. Third song. Write another song. Get to like we get to the pre, and then like start the hook.
Yeah.
And we're still just like, oh man, I don't know. And then at this point now, I'm actually out. I'm good. 3 songs is like, I've slayed my dragon.
Right.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And to his credit, there's this guy, Jake Torrey. He's a young writer who's smashing. He's like, I'm not stopping. He's like, why don't we write a song about not giving up on writing songs? And I was like, you're speaking my language. Let's do that. And we wrote that song in 20 minutes, probably.
Wow.
The majority of the song came out in about 20 minutes.
Don't Give Up on Me came in.
Don't Give Up on Me.
And that
it's really
was
simple.
the fourth one that you did of that
That was the
day?
fourth one of the day.
Wow.
This is how a lot of songs that are great are written. And it's so encouraging because, I'm in a room today and like I'm with top AA writers and like you hit a stumbling block and you're like, is this how it's supposed to feel?
Yeah.
With like some of the best writers in the world, like we still don't know what we're doing. And it's like, yeah. That's what writing songs is.
Encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is what writing is.
Yeah.
No one like, if you already knew what you're going to write, you wouldn't write. It's already be done already.
Right. You
You show up like
It's
having
new.
no idea.
Yeah.
Every time I go into a session, I'm like, I don't know how to write songs. But I'm going to try again. I'm going to like throw it against the wall and maybe something will happen.
That's
today.
that fear. That's that fear coming back around every time you come into a session. Did you have that early on with like, can you remember the first session where you were paired or you got linked up with a really top level writer? Do you remember what that was and how you felt going into that session?
It might have been that Caro one where it was like, oh my God, I know a lot of songs that you've written.
Yeah.
And for me, what that made me do is go, the only shot I have at keeping up with you is if I go as emotional as I can. Like something that's like a really big, I love when songs are super close to someone, like go after what your deepest thing is, and then you get to put it into one word. And then that one word means so much to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The person that you dated for 8 years and then broke up with you. Like, what's the one word that sums that up? That's a great song.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like something that's so close to you that then you can put into, so it makes people feel. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious now that you have had so many hits, released so many records, toured all over the world, and you are constantly kind of getting hit from every angle now with social media, and you're getting hit on Instagram and Twitter, but even at the shows, and kind of how you can balance all of this out where constant admiration thrown at you, but then also feeling potentially that, one, how are you staying humble with it all? And I loved kind of on the new record you have you talk about this like within Spotlight and just kind of like how do you keep that humility, but also how do you are there moments that it kind of you need still to pump yourself up a little bit more, even so all of this is being shot at you in a positive way. There's so much positive energy coming in your direction
as well.
And there's plenty of negative. So speak to both ends of that, the positive and the negative, and then how you balance that out, how you deflect the negative, how you embrace the positive in an authentic way.
Somehow early on I was able to make a deal with myself that I just love to do this. And that's where I'm gonna like stay. I think I'm just good enough to do this. And so I don't listen. I try hard, but I don't listen when someone tells me that I'm not good enough to do this, which in the beginning is what you get a lot of.
Yes.
And then you also don't listen when someone's like, "Oh my God,
right.
you're like the best that anyone's ever done this." It's like, take it easy.
Yeah.
I'm like right in here.
Right.
This is my zone.
Yeah.
That I like stay in.
Yeah.
And I think, when it comes to the negative stuff, when you're in a place where you can hear it, it's like all about like, can you hear it? You don't ever want something to go all the way in that stops you from doing.
Right.
I'm like, just especially with writing, you have to just keep doing it. So if criticism is coming and it's going to stop you from doing it, you can feel like, oh my God, then like, sure, put up your walls, like block it. Don't let it in. But when you're ready, you're in a zone. Be like, okay, so what's the criticism about this? How do I learn? How do I shift this? How do I change? You know.
Where do you, because if there's so much coming at you, positive, negative, criticism, positivity, but if you put up that wall, then potentially you're not able to receive anything.
Yeah, I think it's really about knowing yourself and timing. So like me and my wife, she's an amazing songwriter as well, and she'll come home, like last night she came home and I was done I had written that day too, and I was like kind of tired. She goes, "Can I play you this song?"
Yeah. And
I'm like, "Not a good time." Like I'm not going to be good at like telling you what you need, or I'll say to her like, "Can you listen to the song?" And she'll be very clear about like, "What do you want from me? You want like wife that loves everything you do? Do you want like asshole that's going to tell you the truth?"
Right.
And so it doesn't mean like a wall always. It just means like, oh, right now is not the time to go on Twitter. I'm like about to have breakfast with a friend.
Right.
Do I just go check in and see how much everybody loves me or hates me?
So
that seems kind of stupid.
So you emotionally understand what this theoretically could do to you.
Yeah.
And so you pick and choose your times that you're going to be available to receive
that.
You're
open to.
You're open it.
Okay, what are the common criticisms about this? About what I'm doing? Yeah. How do people see me? So I did this halftime show. It was like a Thanksgiving halftime show. And it was the best day of my career.
Wow.
For horrible reasons. And
explain.
I do this. I have this. Fresh Eyes is like doing really well on Spotify. I've had some other songs that done well, and the NFL's like, "What do you want to do? Like, we'll pretty much let you do whatever you want." I'm like, "Wait, whatever I want?" They're like, "Yeah, you want to like pop out of something? You want like fireworks? You want like a marching band? Do you want crazy screens? Like it's a halftime show. Like do what you want to do."
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, like whatever I want. So then we like hired this creative director and we made this huge, crazy smorgasbord of things. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Went out there, did it. It got hilariously ripped apart on a astronomical level online. Just like complete, like it got ripped apart so bad that you have your friends and family calling, going like, "You good?"
I remember you were trending on Twitter because of that. I remember this.
How you holding up? Like, what you want me to come over?
Yeah.
And it was really, I like just took it and I didn't let it in the moment. I'm just like, all right, this is life. This is what being an artist is. You put yourself out there and you get squashed. That's like a part of life. Yeah. So this will pass. But then about a month later, I was able to look at it and go like, okay, so like why? What about this is going on? And me and my manager, we hired, I spent like a decent amount of money and I hired this guy who used to work for MTV and he was like a branding guy. I'm like, hey man, can you come help me like take a look at my brand? So we sat down for 3 days on a weekend and he was like, this is what first he started out and goes like, I just want everybody to tell me who you are. So like everybody on your team around you, I need them to tell me who you are. Like, all right, well, this guy's like super spiritual. He's a Baha'i, which believes like all the religions are one. He's been to Israel a bunch of times. He's like always really into service. He does like all these different things. And they talked about me and took down notes of like who I am. And then he's like, and then this is what you're showing me. And he's like, you're showing me like every man, but you're like kind of way more like dreamer mystical. So I think that you have more room to go into this area. And I was like, totally. It was like a light went off. And I started like doing a podcast about spirituality. Wow. And I started like writing words on the back of my jacket for what I want to be, humility, love, spirit, all these things. And I started like going in a different, and like, thank God that I had, to me, it was like, I like to say it was like a photo that I had that was cool when it's small. Yeah. And the brand wasn't totally, I wasn't being completely authentic and honest about who I was in my personality. And when you blow up a photo that's not perfectly tight, it starts to get like pixelated.
So that's, I mean, I love that image, but I'm really curious about branding. You brought in a branding guy, but because I think for a lot of singer-songwriters, especially because it's our name, it's your name. Yeah. And there's 1,000 things that make up who you are. Sure. And so you want to be authentic. And that's like part of, we throw around the term brand. It's what is my brand, who I am.
Just how are you coming across?
How are you coming across? And
you are one thing.
Yes.
and how are you coming across? Those are often very different.
But I feel like you're 1,000 things, and you need to maybe focus on certain things.
Yes.
Because it's like you've always been you.
Sure.
But maybe sometimes you've been focusing on other aspects that are not really coming across.
Totally.
In a way that is representative of what you want to show.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying about it's getting a little more specific of like what's happiness to you. Get this book and then another book I'll tell you about as well. I know that's cool. There's this book I read called This Is Marketing, which I think is really good at this point in time for artists to read. Seth Godin.
I love it.
It's unbelievable.
Great book. Get the book.
And one of the like aha moments in that book was he talked about you really have to be okay with telling people this is not for you. Which I am a super people pleaser, and I'm like, I have clocked everybody in this room, and I hope they all like me by the time they leave.
Yeah.
And so for me to be like, look, to be okay with telling someone else like, this is not for you.
Yeah.
And anytime you do like a national anthem at an NFL game, the way I sing the national anthem, there's gonna be a lot of people that's like, this is not for you.
Yes.
And like, it's okay.
Yes.
And when you actually are cool with standing in who you are and being like, this is not for you. For the people that it is for, they're like, that's my guy.
That's incredible to hear from a pop artist, because we understand as pop is supposed to be for everyone. But if you think about, I'm going to make music for everyone, it almost ends up being for no one.
Yeah.
And so you're you now own that this is not going to be for some people, and that's okay.
Yeah, that was a hard lesson for me.
Yeah. I love that you kind of turn on the new record. You have a song, Naive, well, the title track, which is kind of about some of the criticism that's been thrown your way, and that people don't really understand or get what you're doing, or don't think that you're necessarily authentic about what you're doing. But, kind of following your journey, and anyone who's kind of been with your journey understands that it has been authentically you, but some people will just like dip in here and there. So the first time they've ever experienced you was that halftime show.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, wait, no way, I don't get it, or whatever. Or they hear like the one song or anything like that. And
also, just even talking to that, like, there's no way to go through this. Like, you're signing up right now if you're trying to get into the music business. You're signing up for things like that. No one goes through without that. That's like a part of it. You are a warrior of courage to just like, you're going to get blasted. You're going to get like, you're going to write songs that you cry to and are so beautiful. I cried writing a song about a girl who liked me at the time, and she was like, I knew it wasn't right, but it was like kind of fun to have her around, and I knew that she probably shouldn't like fall in love with me because I'm not gonna be here. So I wrote this from a very sincere place in my room, like a tear drops down. I'm like writing it, and I go to play it for the people, my label at the time, and it's like, keep your heart on. Does anybody else hear that? That's so bad. Keep your heart on. That's not gonna work. So you're like, really, I mean it. I'm singing it so intensely. It means so much to me. And I look up and they're like, we can't let that one go. This is the game that you play. You're like, I'm okay. I'm okay to like go. I'm really all right to look stupid for the opportunity that I will be able to be of service to someone.
And that probably takes a lot because it was so meaningful to you.
Yeah.
You cried during that process, but eventually you had to come to terms with that it wasn't going to serve other people in a way.
It's not going to work.
So that one was for you.
That one's for me.
That's important too. You need those songs for you. Do you ever do you have a process or do you have a way to process things that are just going to be for you? Do you ever turn to songwriting to process, or do you have other practices?
There's times, where I write songs where I'm like, oh man, there's a song on the good parts called Civil War, where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be a hit, but like I need to write this one. And the truth is that like it doesn't matter. The hit thing is just like better to let go. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like in your brain. It's always there. It's always working its thing. And the best is when you just go like, sure, you're there. Like whatever, get off me. Let me just like write this song. Let me not care where it's going, how it's going to work. Sometimes you can get better at being like, okay, now that it sounds like this, maybe it'll be better if we do. That's part of the writing process.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there was one thing I would say is that action kills fear, and your best shot of being a working musician is if you're taking massive action more than you're like talking about it. And especially in the early stages, if there's people here that like are really at the ground level, you might have to take action in things that aren't even doing the thing that you're doing. So like I spent a lot of time booking the Viper Room, which is like, I don't know if you know me, but that's like not my spot.
Right.
But like I had it in there.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, how do I make this work? How do I have something to offer to other people? So we booked the downstairs, which is literally like the size of this stage here.
Yes.
And I made a whole acoustic night there, and then finally was able to book. So it's not going to look perfect.
Yeah.
It's like you show up, you do a lot of work around getting to your purpose. So there's sometimes like a lot of work you have to do that seems sideways to get you back to what you want to do.
I have one final question.
All right.
That I ask that I've asked everyone on this show. What does it mean to you, and what do you define as how to make it in the new music business?
I'll go back. I wish it was my own thing, but what's coming to mind is a quote from Seth Godin.
Sure.
And he talks about how like right now, the way you make it is you find out who you're for, you show up to that person and be of such massive service to them that they would really miss you if you were gone. You do that, I promise that you're going to have a crew of people around you that are like cheering you on, that are buying your shirts, that are doing everything you can possibly do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Andy Grammer, thank you so much
Good
for
stuff.
being with us. That was fantastic.
Awesome.
Very enlightening. We're going to we have time for a few questions. We have a mic right here. If you have a question, raise your hand and Cam will come around with the mic. We have one, right there.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up?
So question, when it comes to songwriting, all right, so I make music as well, and sometimes when I think about the concept of making 100 songs, it's kind of overwhelming, and I wonder, okay, I'm a spiritual guy too, so I try to find inspiration in everything. So how do you like keep the songwriting process fresh and not talk about love and life and this and the third? Like, how do you mix it up?
That's a great question. There are periods where like I find that I'm writing the same idea over and over again, and that might be 50 to 60, and then I show up again on Tuesday and 61 is like, this is different. I just write through it. I just like refuse to stop. And if you just keep going, co-writing is cool. You want to switch it up. You want to like get different vibes. But I equate it to, we all have a friend who's like beefcake and he like goes to the gym every day and it's like non-negotiable. And he brings his food in like a little Tupperware thing. And you look at him and you're like, you have like a discipline with that like I will never have. I have that with songwriting. And you can get it. If it's important enough to you, if your purpose on earth is to like be a songwriter, then like you got to get that. You have to force that upon yourself, and it can be learned. I didn't just have it naturally. I worked a lot at it, and now, to me, it's like when there's a day that I can write a song, I write a song, and you can get there. You'll get there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, right there with the glasses. Let's do the mic here.
So how do you find a balance between like making the art that you want to make, that you need, that you love, and then making art that you think everyone will love? Because obviously you've made songs that like everyone loves, but like sometimes I want to make like a screaming punk rock song that no one is ever going to like. So like how do you balance that and be true to yourself and please people and everything?
I don't know if I fundamentally believe that if there's something that you really like, that others just automatically won't like it. I don't know if I believe that. That's scary, right? Like you might be digging in an area that like doesn't have the same amount of chance that you will hit something amazing, but when you create art, you hopefully are creating things that you love. So I would. Do you actually like? If you really do love it, then someone else might love it. You know, there's like. There's a good shot that if it's like really lighting you up, to not do that, I think would be a terrible mistake. I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Nice.
then figure out like, now if you do it and no one likes it, and that's just for you, then there might be like, okay, cool, I did it. I did exactly what I want to do, and this isn't getting any response. And so that could be something that I still just like love to do. Like art doesn't have to be something that everybody like. It can still go into that bucket and be like, I just love doing this. I'm doing this. And then there's other art that I love that I don't think you should be doing any art that you don't love and hoping that someone else is gonna love it if you don't love it. Now you're fucked.
Yeah.
Well, that's a terrible place to start.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just gonna make this because I think that this is what's working. I mean, it's so hard anyway. It's so hard when you love it and you're trying to find something that other people are gonna love to do something just because I don't know. That's my guess.
That's like chasing. It's so
Chasing is gnarly,
Yeah.
and I've definitely chased.
Yeah.
And I think my new rule on chasing is, okay, so there's like a trend, right? That's coming through. Am I going to rub up against that trend out of fear or out of joy? If I'm rubbing up out of joy, then it's like, this is interesting. I think I want to try a song with a drop because like I've been listening to so many songs with a drop. This sounds like I think I could do this interesting.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it out of like, oh man, everything's got a drop. I think I got to like put a drop in.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And it'll show.
So
It'll
do
come
like
through.
a gut check.
Yeah.
If you're doing it out of fear, stop doing it. Yeah.
Nice. A lot of hands. Cam, you decide.
Hello.
What's up? So I wanted to ask you what your relationship is like with lyrics, and if you've had ebbs and flows with like how you process writing words. Because I myself am going through some like writer's block. So I joined a creative writing class, and I'm
Great.
trying to like, instead of pressuring myself to write lyrics, I'm just trying to write words and get to know and love them better separately from the music. So I just wanted to hear like if you've struggled with that in the past and kind of had moments of total inspiration and productivity versus moments of more just struggle with words. Yeah.
I definitely had many struggles with words. And when you go to write them every day, I think to me, one of the most liberating things is like what I was saying, I was talking about my wife today, is that I don't fully know how it's going to hit me later. So I think that when you write music, it's like painting something, and that day when you're looking at it, it's like here. So you're like, someone's like, "Is this good?" You're like, "I think so." I don't really know.
Yeah.
Right? And then like as weeks go by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, I have a song called 85 that I know I feel that way. And when I wrote it, I was like, I think this is cheesy. This is who I am. But when I'm looking at this lyric down, it feels like cheesy to me. It is one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. So again, I think when you're having trouble and it doesn't feel like it's inspired, you can lean back into like, well, I'm just doing it today because that's what I do. I'm a writer. And I might not be in love with this today, but I showed up for my thing. And then you will notice over a long period of time that you've written some great shit in those periods. And that sometimes you don't leave a session going like, oh my God, that was amazing. And you still got something great. So that's a cool place now, 10 years in, to be like, man, this writing session feels like I'm pushing a freaking ball up a hill. But I've felt this before and had hit from it. So my job then is now to not leave until like, I'm just going to keep going. You know what I mean?
Andy Grammer, thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause.
Hey.
That is so helpful and incredible and amazing.